24 hours ago, Alexandra Eala walked off the court completely exhausted after surviving a brutal 2.5-hour battle against Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen. Most people thought that would be the end of her run. After all, waiting in the next round was the defending Washington Open champion, Leylah Fernandez, a player who had already beaten Eala earlier this season and arrived much fresher after an easy opening round victory. Everything pointed toward one outcome. Instead, Alex Eala produced one of the biggest wins of her career. She defeated defending champion Leylah Fernandez in straight sets, reached the Washington Open quarterfinals, and sent a message to the entire WTA Tour. But this wasn't just another upset. This was the match that proved Alex Eala is no longer just a rising prospect. She's becoming a genuine threat. One day after surviving a grueling 2-hour, 26-minute battle against Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen, Alexandra Eala faced a completely different challenge. Across the net stood defending Washington Open champion Leylah Fernandez, a player who had already beaten Eala earlier this season in Stuttgart. On paper, the advantage seemed to belong to Fernandez. She had spent far less time on court in her opening match and entered the second round much fresher. But from the very first set, Eala showed that this wasn't going to be a repeat of Stuttgart. She came out aggressively and took control early, winning the opening set 6-2. Instead of allowing Fernandez to dictate the rhythm, Eala consistently stayed on the front foot and forced the defending champion to respond. By the end of the first set, it was clear that Eala had arrived with confidence rather than caution. The second set, however, completely changed the atmosphere. Fernandez responded like a defending champion. She built a commanding 5-1 lead, putting herself within touching distance of forcing a deciding third set. At that moment, many expected Eala's earlier marathon match to finally catch up with her physically. Instead, Eala produced the kind of comeback that defines careers. She refused to let the match slip away, winning 6 of the next 7 games to force a tiebreak. Then she dominated the breaker 7-1, completing a straight sets victory 6-2, 7-6-1, and knocking the defending champion out of the tournament. This victory was about much more than reaching another quarterfinal. It showed that Eala could recover from a physically demanding match, withstand a huge momentum swing, and finish against one of the tour's most resilient competitors. Those are qualities that separate promising young players from genuine contenders. And perhaps the biggest message of all was simple. Alexandra Eala is no longer just producing isolated upsets. She's beginning to beat top players consistently enough that the rest of the WTA Tour has to start taking notice. For many players, one big upset is enough to grab headlines. Doing it twice in a row is something completely different. Just 2 days earlier, Alexandra Eala had defeated Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen. Now she had eliminated the defending Washington Open champion, Leylah Fernandez. Beating 2 high-caliber opponents in consecutive matches isn't just impressive, it changes how the rest of the tour looks at you. And that's exactly what's happening. This wasn't a lucky draw or a one-off performance. Eala backed up one of the biggest wins of her career with another statement victory, proving that she can perform under pressure on consecutive days against elite competition. Another important factor is the timing. The Washington Open is one of the key hard-court tournaments leading into the US Open, meaning every win here builds confidence and momentum at exactly the right point in the season. For Eala, this result is another major step in her rapid rise during 2026. After her breakthrough performances earlier this year, many people wondered whether she could consistently challenge established WTA players. Victories like this are beginning to answer that question. More importantly, Eala didn't simply survive against Fernandez. She recovered from a difficult second set, stayed mentally composed after Fernandez's comeback, and finished the match in a dominant tiebreak. That's the kind of resilience top players need during Grand Slam tournaments, where momentum can change in just a few games. Now, another challenge awaits. With a place in the Washington Open quarterfinals secured, Eala has another opportunity to continue one of the most impressive runs of her young career. Every victory from this point forward brings more ranking points, more confidence, and more belief that she belongs among the WTA's top players. But perhaps the biggest takeaway isn't the scoreline. It's that Alexandra Eala is starting to build something every successful player eventually earns: belief. Not just belief from her fans. Belief from her opponents. And once the rest of the tour starts believing you're a threat every time you walk onto the court, your career enters a completely different chapter. Now comes the part that makes this victory even more exciting. By reaching the Washington Open quarterfinals, Alexandra Eala has given herself another opportunity to face higher-ranked competition just weeks before the US Open. Every match from this stage forward becomes another valuable test against some of the best players in the world. And that's exactly where young players grow the fastest. A few months ago, many conversations about Eala focused on her potential. Now, the conversation is beginning to shift toward her results. That's a very different position to be in. The WTA Tour is incredibly competitive, and earning respect doesn't happen because of hype. It happens by winning matches against proven opponents. Over the past few weeks, Eala has done exactly that. Just as importantly, she's showing that she can handle different kinds of pressure. Against Zheng Qinwen, she fought through a long 3-set battle. Against Leylah Fernandez, she protected an early lead, absorbed a comeback, and still found a way to close the match in straight sets. Those are two completely different challenges, and she passed both. As the US Open approaches, performances like these will naturally increase expectations. But they also increase confidence. Every victory reinforces the belief that she belongs on the same court as the biggest names in women's tennis. Whether this run continues for another match or another tournament, one thing has become increasingly clear. Alexandra Eala is no longer arriving at tournaments hoping to surprise people. She's arriving expecting to compete. And after defeating an Olympic champion followed by the defending Washington Open champion in consecutive matches, the rest of the tour has every reason to take notice. If this level continues, Washington may not be remembered as just another good week. It could be remembered as the tournament where Alexandra Eala officially announced herself as a genuine contender on the WTA Tour. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Can Alex Eala carry this momentum all the way through the US Open hardcourt season? We'll be following every step of her journey.